Well, Lucas Mormon's coming down to talk real quick after this. I'm just curious, how important do you think that last game was for him, just for his confidence? Because I would think if anybody needed a jolt of that, it was him.
Well, obviously, it's good to see him play that way. I've been seeing him come around that way. You know, I mean, that's what happens with freshmen. Like I've said before, you know, you hit these spots where, you know, you go down a little bit. He hit that. You wait for them. When are they going to come back? It happens to all freshmen over the course of a season. Oftentimes you see it in February. But it hits different guys at different times. And, you know, what we did was, as he was going through that, we've been spending time with him, you know, during practice. He and Nick, after practice, he and Nick, like, working with them hard because that's what gets you out of it. You know, that's what gets you out of those things. And you never know when it's going to happen. And I just know over the last sort of 10 days, I started to say to Lucas, you know, do you know why we're doing what we're doing when we do these things? You know, we're doing it so it shows up in the game. You know, like, whatever we're doing, I want it to show up in the game. And I think, you know, like I said, for different guys, it comes at different times in different ways. And I think that made it make more sense, as hard as that is to believe. Like, it made him say, oh, I get it. You want me to shoot this jump hook in the game? Yeah, get your butt down there and do that. And I think when you do it like that, then all the shooting we've done with him, he's doing it. You know, it just sort of makes sense. So obviously he played well. More importantly, you know, his fight, his willingness to, you know, battle, that kid, that was most important. You know, I mean, he did a really good job in all areas of the game. And hopefully it can just be something where, you know, like you said, it's okay, do it again tomorrow. I mean, he's got the same challenge tomorrow. You know, so, you know, do the same thing again. You know, I just want to, can we see, and that doesn't mean, you know, make every shot you take or whatever. It just means see that same level of fight, see that same level of sort of him knowing the way that he's capable of playing, and go play that way. And that's, if he can do that again tomorrow, then, you know, here we are in February, and like I told some TV guys, you know, the whole plan is for us to have a 6'10", 240-pound junior one day who plays the way that he played there, but he's 2 years older and he's 30 pounds heavier, and he knows the kind of player he is.
And with his outside shooting, how important is it for that position in your offense to be able to hit a shot, just because of what it does to the defensive lineman?
I mean, it's huge. And, you know, like I said before, I mean, okay, you want to go ahead and do that. That's your strategy, to not guard our guy. That's fine. But I know, we all know the surefire way to defeat that strategy. You know, sometimes teams do some things where, geez, what are we going to do against that? You know, I mean, well, this one, I know what we have to do is you got to make a shot. And when you do, that strategy is blown up. And now you don't really have an alternative strategy, you know, because when you do that, when you just don't guard a guy, you don't have an alternative strategy. So, you know, again, I don't know what they'll do tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. I know what Lucas is going to do. I know what Nick's going to do. They're going to stay after practice, and our coaches are going to work with them and shoot with them. I know during different parts of practice, that's what we're going to do, because to your point, I don't even know if it's our offense. It's just called being a basketball player. You know, I mean, basketball players, when they're open, shoot it and make it. You know, they know when they're open, and when you run our offense, Lucas knows, and will continue to even learn better, when is my time coming that I'm going to be open? So he knows ahead of time. And when you know ahead of time, that's part of his growing too. Well, that's when you make them. So I think both those guys, you know, I've seen Nick shooting the ball better. Now, he just hasn't, you know, he had one in the second half Saturday. That thing was around and in. It was a perfect shot. But he's shooting the ball better. He's shooting it more correctly. Well, you keep doing that over and over again, it's going to go in. So that's what we're going to keep doing, and if they improve, obviously they're getting better, but it's going to pay a lot of dividends for, you know, our overall team effectiveness.
And in practice, you've seen Luke shoot well enough from the outside.
Oh yeah, I've said before, and, you know, knock on wood, I said the day's coming when he's going to make 3 in a row and 4 in a row, because his shot is a really nice-looking stroke. I mean, it's the way the ball is supposed to be shot. It's just that before this year, he never shot a three-point shot. Before June, when I saw him for the first time and started whatever, I don't think he's ever shot a three-point shot. And I could say the same thing about dribbling for him. He's dribbled the ball more this year than he ever did in his life before this year. So, you know, I made a crack. I mean, I shouldn't say it. I won't say it. But But I know that. So does he, and he sees how much better he's gotten. And, anytime you're a kid who works hard like he does and cares like he does, and you see yourself improving, you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And hopefully, I know he's going to do it, but hopefully we see and he sees some of the benefits of that here over the next couple of weeks.
And then down the stretch when it was, close game at Wyoming, you had 4 freshmen on the floor. Was that just, Jeffrey Mills' matchup situation, or is that kind of a coach saying you weren't on the road?
And I wish, it is a lot of that right now. And it's also, Joe Octave picked up. Joe played well. I started him for the same reason I started Luke, because I saw Joe practice really well, and I saw what I've been looking for from Joe in the prior 2 to 3 practices as he was coming back from his hand. And unfortunately, why I don't know how that technical was called. That gave him a 4th foul, and I took him out. So it was a combination of that. But Jeff hit a big shot. Jeff's going to keep playing better. I like the way Joe's been playing. Can Joe play? He had like an edge to him and a grittiness to him on Saturday. Well, I need to keep seeing that from him, and if I do, then Joe stays on the court longer. You know what I mean? And I think that's just that's what we need. But it has to come from him playing with that kind of edge and that sort of grittiness, and he did Saturday. So, good signs. But there is an element of playing in front of 8,300 people in an environment like that in a really hard-fought game, and we're gonna get some long-term benefits out of that. And I am thinking that way. But to be honest, it's kind of easy when 5/8 of your guys are freshmen and sophomores.
All right.
Offensively, Coach, tell me if I'm just way off on this, but it seems like when the offense is going well, it's going great. And when it's not doing well, it's just off the rails, turnovers, bad shots. Is that a product of a young team, or is that a product of bad decision-making, and how are we trying to combat that?
Well, I think you've seen improvement in that. I really liked how we've been running our offense and the way it's looked over the last, probably 4 or 5 games. Now, as I say that, what you've seen is way less turnovers. I mean, we've had 11, 11, and 9 the last 3, and I know that one game before that we had 12. So, I know it when I see it. I know it's running much better. What hasn't happened during this stretch right now, and I've said it to our guys, is we're not making shots. So as we're running, and I think that can then be a byproduct of what you're saying is that, well, we haven't been doing that all year. You know what I mean? We've had games where 18, 19 turnovers and not running it that way, and all that it was lost practice time. The best practice time is the environments we're in, having to execute over and over again when it's really, really hard. And as you're doing that and taking care of the ball, well, now you got to make the shot. And there's been times this year, those were all lost opportunities to sort of teach that muscle memory of, we're doing what we're doing for one reason. At the end of it, we're going to make sure we took care of it, and we're making it. And even in the game Saturday, I said to our guys, the game got tied 46-all. And at that juncture, I think we went 1 for our next 5 on wide open, shots. And now, shots don't just mean threes. You know what I mean? In that game, we got, layup, 2 wide open 14-foot pull-up jump shots with nobody around us. And we went 0 for 4 on all 4 of them. So it's not just the 3 at that juncture. It's making shots is every different kind of shot. And even there, that's where being in every game, fighting your tails off, executing, taking care of that ball, the more these guys are in that environment doing that consistently, well, that's when they teach themselves, I'm making this one. So I'm seeing us doing that more when, and when we're going to break through, I know how we're going to do it. It's what I said to our guys. And our guys know how we're going to do it. I just don't know when. I know that, but we know how. They're doing the how. And when they do that and then put that ball in consistently, well, that's called, winning is really what it comes down to. And in that environment against these teams, that's what we got to make sure we keep practicing that way in the games because, I got confidence that our guys are they'll show us when. Our guys will show us when. And, when they do that, they'll know how and why they did it, and that's usually when you can make yourself, make a habit of that.
I know we've talked a lot about the freshmen, of course, as much as about the future and everything, but what do you want from A.J. Walker the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season?
Well, I'll tell you, he's done a really good job. What I'd really like to see from him to finish his career is like, as he's done really good, is just sort of play, like with a passion the last 3-4 games. Play with, and I said the words, like an unreal, like zeal, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love for him to get 8 rebounds a game, you know what I mean? I'd love to see defensively such an activity level as a senior, 22 years old. I've played against all these guys. I've played in all these environments. I've played in all these arenas. Sort of just know at this juncture, just play so freely that way, and it's not really about scoring the basketball. It's about, like, all the other things, diving on the floor, like, be engaged that way, because I know if we see that, well, then I know he's going to be playing really, really well in his last 4, 5, 6 games, whatever it is. And, and I know how much of a help that would be to the freshmen. So, and I think it would be the right way for him for his career to sort of finish him playing that way, because he'd be playing, like a really good player, and that would be the right way for him. With the transition and all that in his last 2 years, that would be the right way for him to finish, playing here at Air Force.